this day forth to having a whole and richer for poorer. Baby, please, please.
I do.
All that I have to say about this moment is sorry to the senator. Sorry to that man. Truly, truly sorry. What's up? My name is Kennedy Ajane, and welcome to the first episode of Gems of the Culture, a series where I will be highlighting and discussing Black television and film we all know and love that has given us the representation we needed, celebrated us, entertained us, just overall good stories, but most importantly impacted the culture. So the first gem I will be discussing today is my favorite television show of all time, A Different World. Now the reason why I'm starting off the series with A Different World is because today is the 33-year anniversary. So what better way to kick off the series and celebrate such an amazing and impactful show? A Different World aired for 6 seasons from September 24th, 1987 to July 10th, 1933. And with it being a spinoff of The Cosby Show, it was able to stand on its own and become a huge hit. As we all know, The Cosby Show broke barriers as it gave people a sense of family, depicting the Black family structure in a way that hadn't been shown on television before of the upper middle class Black family, while also reviving the sitcom genre. Now with A Different World, it gave young Black people a voice, and I believe it opened the door for how young Black people are represented on television. With it being a sitcom, it did not shy away from tackling controversial and sensitive topics such as HIV and AIDS, apartheid, racism, colorism, date rape, police brutality, the LA riots, and they did it so beautifully. The balance between the heaviness and seriousness of these topics while keeping the show entertaining and funny without losing the overall message. The stories that they told were written so well. A Different World made you feel seen, showing how beautiful and diverse we are as Black people within the many shades and backgrounds of the characters. Whether you relate to Whitley Gilbert, the Southern Belle from Richmond, Virginia, representing the Black bourgeoisie coming from money, lineage, and legacy, or Kimberly Reese, who's working her ass off, having multiple jobs to pay her way through school while maintaining good grades as a pre-med student, or Dwayne Wayne from Brooklyn, the math whiz, engineer, teacher, or even Lena James, the homegirl from Baltimore, raised by a single father and a first-generation college student. While amplifying young Black voices, A Different World showcased HBCU culture on prime time television. The way that Hillman was depicted highlighted the importance, the history, the culture and community and pride of attending a historically Black college or university. And who didn't want to go to Hillman? I just knew I was going to Hillman, but when I found out that it didn't exist, I was so disappointed. But the fact that HBCUs exist is the whole reasoning and purpose for the show's existence. And with A Different World's time slot being in between The Cosby Show and Cheers, the demographic that it pulled in exposed so many different people to our prestigious colleges and universities. And because of that, the enrollment in colleges spiked and the enrollment in HBCUs tripled. All because of this show, but most importantly because of Debbie Allen. And I will always attribute the success and its impact and what it means to the culture to Debbie Allen because of what she brought to the show and her influence. But before I get into that, I am going to briefly talk about season 1 and my feelings about it, then get into Debbie Allen's influence, and lastly talk about my favorite moments and episodes of the series. So let's get into it. The premise of the series was to follow Denise Huxtable into her sophomore year as she attends her family's alma mater, Hillman College, a fictitious historically black college located in Virginia. The other characters we're introduced to in season 1 are her 2 roommates, Jaleesa Vincent and Maggie Lawton. We're also introduced to Dwayne Wayne, Whitley Gilbert, Walter Oakes, Ron Johnson, Millie, Stevie Rollins, and Letty Bostick. So as fans of the show know, the first season was pretty dull, and with Denise being the focus of the spinoff, they didn't really do too much with her character to where she came out very boring. She was irresponsible, lazy, and just didn't do anything. Nothing was going on campus. It was pretty dead. They failed to depict what life is like at a historically black college. And even with Jaleesa and Maggie, it was like they were just there, to where it became very monotonous. And a lot of the situations that they got themselves into were very trivial, to where it just wasn't entertaining at all. And even with Maggie being the only white student and a transfer student at that, they didn't really dig into her being there, which was a missed opportunity. So even though the energy of the first season was pretty dull, I still feel like it is important to the series because we see the beginnings of Dwayne and Whitley and their growth as individuals as well as a couple, seeing that in the beginning of the first season they could barely stand each other and they weren't friends at all, to the final episode of the first season we see the beginnings of a possible friendship, and it just gives us that foundation, especially when Lisa Bonet and Marissa Tomei leaves the show after the first season and the focus of the series begin to center around Dwayne and Whitley. So I appreciate the first season for what it is, and I often go back to watch the episodes that are more centered around Dwayne and Whitley because they're the more entertaining episodes of the first season. And just seeing how far they've come and the journey we go on with these two, the ups and downs, and the pacing of their relationship was done so well and was so believable, to where when that moment that we all love happens at the wedding, just makes it even more special and the reason why we love them together. So with season 1 missing the mark and not highlighting the black college experience, that's when Debbie Allen was brought on as producer and director to help revive and revamp the show, bringing her own experiences from attending Howard University. With her having full creative control, she took the time to bridge the gaps, seeing that a lot of the writers hadn't attended an HBCU, so she made them take yearly trips to nearby colleges such as Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark Atlanta University, where they interviewed the students on their experiences and incorporated what they gathered onto the show. She also acknowledged that there was a disconnect between the writers and the actors, bringing forth this idea of collaboration and having them build that trust and community on set, and even allowing the actors to have input on what happens with their characters. She fought for the social and political topics such as HIV and AIDS, apartheid, date rape, the LA riots, and many more to be discussed on the show to make it more relevant and authentic to what is being discussed on college campus, and really reflecting the times of the early 90s, as well as giving the students a voice and opinion on what is going on around them, adding more depth to their characters, giving people the language to use to articulate what is going on around them, and showing how to have healthy conversations and debates, seeing that we can have different views on how to get to this point, but knowing that change does need to happen, or something needs to change. She brought Hillman to life, giving it character by adding details such as having soul food in the pit, making it the place where the students convene and hang out, having black sorority and fraternity representation, bringing us into the classroom and seeing the interaction between the students and the teachers, making us feel a part of the class, even there being mentioning of real authentic slave journals being in Gilbert archives, or even the discovery of part of the Underground Railroad being in the laundry room of Gilbert Hall. all these necessary details that make Hillman real and the reason why you wanted to go to Hillman. It just gave it that history and that liveliness of this is where I want to be. With the changes that she's implemented, the storylines were more engaging and the energy of the show shifted tremendously, and you can feel it in the first episode of the second season off rip. In the second season, we're introduced to new characters: Kimberly Reese, Winifred Freddie Brooks, Colonel Bradford Taylor, and Vernon Gaines. And later on in the series, we're introduced to Gina DeVoe, Lena James, Charmaine Taisha Brown, Dorian Haywood, and Terrell Walker, the characters that we all know and love, and even the theme song, the iconic theme song sung by the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin, is much better, and in season 6 sung by Boyz II Men. So Debbie Allen gave this show life. And that leads into my favorite part of the video, where I discuss my favorite moments and episodes of the series. So let's get into it. So one of my favorite moments of the series is in the Dream Lover episode, where Whitley has the steamy and romantic dream about Dwayne, and they're in the computer room and she's staring at him, and it goes into this very dramatic daydream sequence. And I like this moment because it is the clever way to flirt with the idea of Dwayne and Whitley, or even entertain the idea of Whitley having feelings for Dwayne. So when they finally get together, it's not too far-fetched. Also, this moment is so true to Whitley, very overly dramatic, over the top, and I love it. The Stepping Stone episode is another one of my favorites, and when I tell you, every time I watch it, I cannot help but to sing along, like na 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 na. Sorry girls from Libby Hall. Next to us, you were flowers all the while. Like, it made the campus so lively, and I wanted to go to Hillman so bad and be in Gilbert Hall. Like, what better hall to be in than Gilbert? Gilbert was the place to be. And this actually leads into my next favorite moment, probably my favorite Freddie moment, where she discovers part of the Underground Railroad in the laundry room of Gilbert Hall. This episode has so many layers. Just in this discovery, it makes Hillman even more special and a part of history, being face to face with this part of our past, showing how far we've come and how much further we have to go, and that Freddie was the one to make this discovery because she's always digging deep. And this being the defining moment for her, where she realizes what she wants to do with her life after college. She doesn't just want to make money. She wants to be an inspiration and make a difference. And that is so true to who Freddie is throughout the series, and what I love about Freddie, just her dedication and passion and activism for things that she believes in, constantly standing in her unwavering truth. Her just not being afraid to speak out against any injustices, even if her voice is the only one. The HIV and AIDS episode is one of my favorites. The way that they tackled this topic was so well done. The guest appearances by Tisha Campbell and Whoopi Goldberg were so amazing, and the fact that it was set in the classroom where the student had to deliver their own eulogies, and this being the space where Josie Webb reveals that she has AIDS. But before she drops this bomb on the class, listening to Whitley, Ron, and Dwayne span their life out over all these years and everything they're going to achieve, kind of having this entitlement that they have all this time allotted to them. And then here's Josie Webb revealing her status, but also knowing that after graduation she will lose her battle to AIDS. And the reaction from the class was so real. But the moment that gave her the confidence to speak her truth is the saying that Dr. Jordan made the whole class say, which is, "I am a voice in this world and I deserve to be heard." And those words are so powerful, and every time I watch it I get emotional, because when I first watched that episode, that was like the first time I've ever been affirmed and heard those words. And for Josie to use her voice in that moment and spread awareness to the students, it's like when you think about impact, you think of it on this large scale, but it's just the little things like a conversation, a hug, an affirming word. And throughout this episode, that's what it was. Her being affirmed by Dr. Jordan, supported and consoled by Mr. Gaines and Kim, and just people checking their own ignorances and being aware that they are not above anything or immune to anything. And like she says, youth is not immortality. It is the choices that you make. So be wise and make smarter choices. Her story definitely opened a lot of people's eyes in bringing awareness to the AIDS epidemic, as well as letting people know Whitley had so many amazing moments, but her many renditions of Kinu's names, such as Kiki Kula, Nookie, Kinu Sabi, Kiki, and many more, was so petty. She made sure sis knew she did not like her and that she was coming for Dwayne. Kinu made Whitley apply the pressure, and I loved every single shady and petty moment.
Lemon and sugar, Mrs. Wine?
Just plain, thank you.
I know how Dwayne likes his. Dash of sugar, little bit of milk. How's that?
That's perfect.
Go on, Dwayne.
Oh, so it was the first day of
Kiki
Tanisha.
Lemon?
Just give me the cup.
The Cats in the Cradle episode always gets to me for so many different reasons, but the moment where Dwayne says,
You know, it doesn't matter how many degrees I get. All you people see is color. Your grandfather was an immigrant. You're American. My grandfather was born here, Duke. And you people still look at me as just another nigga.
and that those words are so powerful and so true even to this day. My favorite moment of Ron's is when he has to take the American history exam in order to graduate, and before he goes to take the test, Walter removes cheat sheets from his shoe and one that is attached to his boxers.
Hold up now. I want you to stop. Let me check you out, man.
Hey, wait a minute, Walter. Walter, what are you doing? Hey, Walter.
Look at this. Look at
No, Ron! Not cheating!
this. Take off your shoe.
Oh, that's despicable!
Drop your pants.
Is this really necessary?
Yes, it is, Whitley.
How were you planning to read that, boy?
The oldest trick in the book. Velcro.
Ron, man, here's your shit.
And it is so like Ron to do such a thing. Gina has so many great moments, from her many renditions of When the Saints Go Marching In for her auditions, to the Jerry Curl Jesus she gives Dorian that she swears up and down is an afro, but the moment where she confesses that she's the one that puts the note on Charmaine's back is hilarious.
How do you feel about your roommate, Gina?
Well, I don't have no...
Well, according to my client, you can't stand her.
Oh, that's not true.
Well, is it not true that you got very jealous when Dorian referred to her as the smartest girl in class?
No.
Well, is it not true that you tried to gain Dorian's affection by baking him a Jerry Curl Jesus?
That was an afro.
Is it not true that you've been Bible-toting ever since you found out that boy went to church?
Hey, no.
Which one of the Ten Commandments tells Thou shalt not lie? Do not wait till Sunday to confess, Dorian. Do not tell the truth.
Okay. I did
if you know me, you know I love Jada Pinkett Smith and Tupac. So seeing them in an episode together was just everything. And him playing Piccolo, Lena's ex, he came in and applied the pressure. He made Dorian step up his game, and the fight between them two.
Oh, so now you all that now that you bougie.
Now what you gotta
Hey, is there a problem? Is something wrong? Squares, man. What you want, quiet boy? Lena told me you ain't doing the right thing. Yeah, stand there with your mouth open, punk. Let your woman handle your business.
What you gotta do?
Hey, Piccolo, man.
Oh, no.
Hey, man, why don't you punk up on me?
Every time I watch this episode, I get so amped because she had two men fighting over her. And as much as I love Tupac, in that scenario, he was Piccolo, and I'm Team Dorian all the way. The War and Peace episode, written by Jasmine Guy and Dominic Hoffman, is definitely one of my favorite episodes. I love the moment between Whitley and Dwayne, and Elmer and Colonel Taylor. Blair Underwood, Kadeem Hardison, and Glenn Turman's performances were so amazing. Just seeing the vulnerability of black men and it showing the realities of war on the men that are going over there into the unknown and their families. It is definitely one of those very emotional episodes for me.
I don't think I can do this, sir. I really don't.
Zelma, I can't do anything.
I'm a black man in the prime of my life. I'm just now starting to live. Just starting to taste. To know who I am, to know what I'm supposed to do with myself. Feeling good about myself. My accomplishments. I can't blow out the candles now. Not now. I'm just starting to see. It's not fair, Colonel.
So my favorite Kim moment is when she is reciting Nikki Giovanni's ego tripping poem at the dorm dedication. And the reason why this is one of my favorite moments of hers is because throughout this episode we begin to peel back the layers of Kim and see what lies behind her smile. And it goes with one of the themes, which is what lies behind Mammy's smile and just how her image has affected black women. And this being intertwined into Kim's story and how when she was younger she was mistaken for Aunt Jemima during a costume contest that she won, but she was a Nubian princess, and that kind of stuck with her because she felt like, is this how people view me? And just throughout this episode, her kind of finding herself again and just her being on that stage in her true essence, confident and just reciting this poem, felt like she was honoring that inner child and kind of reclaiming that moment that was stripped away from her and being the Nubian princess that she sees herself and always has seen herself as. It is just an empowering and beautiful moment.
I am so hip. Even my errors are correct. I mean, I can fly like a bird in the sky.
My favorite Mr. Gaines moment is the episode when Lena Horne visits Hillman and just seeing them sitting together, reminiscing about the time she sang to the troops, eating soul food and just having a good time, because throughout this whole episode Mr. Gaines has been having a pretty hard time, especially when it came to his memory. So he's been pretty down. So seeing him in this moment smiling, laughing, having a good time was just great. And of course the late great Lena Horne is in this episode, so this episode was just amazing. My favorite Terrell and Dorian moment is their reimagining of what the conversation between Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was like. And every time I watch this episode, I am completely immersed. These men did a great job in their reenactment. It is so beautiful. And the fact that they are kind of representing the opposing person that they truly represent, but the fact that Dorian looks a lot like Malcolm X and Terrell looks more like Martin Luther King was very fitting visually, and I just thought that it was just a beautiful episode and a beautiful moment.
We may differ in method, but that does not mean we differ in objective. True. And if a man hasn't discovered something he will die for, he isn't fit to live. If I can die, having brought any light, having exposed any meaningful truth that will help destroy the racist cancer that is malignant in the body of America, then all credit is due to Allah. Only the mistakes are mine. My brother, God does not judge us by the separate incidents of the separate mistake that we make, but by the total bent of our lives. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Martin.
God bless you too, Brother Malcolm.
Now watch out. You talk to me. Now you're gonna get investigated.
My favorite Charmaine and Terrell moment is the entire episode where they are bombing in French. It is so hilarious, and I constantly say the words "Je m'appelle," "I'm a fail" all the time, just for no reason, because it is hilarious. Anytime the late great Diane Carroll and the legendary Patti LaBelle were on screen, it was always a moment, especially when they were together, because they were cutting up. At the engagement party, at Thanksgiving that they invited themselves to, they were always at each other's necks, and I love it. Like, there is no top moment. Every time they were on screen was a moment, and they did what they do best, which is be great.
Tell me something. What's in the whipped cream? That's Grand Marnier liqueur. Who? Liquor, baby, liquor. Now that's better. Why did you just say so? I was trying to pronounce it properly. Not in America, honey. I tell you what. Would you do me a favor? What's that? Give me the recipe to that skinny pie. I promise. You can have anything in the world you want. Marion, happy Thanksgiving. Adele, happy Thanksgiving.
So my second to last favorite moment of the series is the night before the wedding, where Dwayne and Whitley are sitting in front of the altar reminiscing about their relationship and expressing their appreciation for one another. And I just see this as a moment of them exchanging their vows, and that is why I love this moment, because it leads into my number one favorite moment of the series, when Dwayne shows up in that bright orange suit and crashes the wedding, the iconic moment that we all love.
Will you?
Blessed are those who ask the questions, Bubba.
Whitley, I love you, and if you'll have me, I want you to be my wife. What the hell are you doing? I'm sorry, Byron, I love her.
Just die!
Let him go, man. Will you have me, Dwayne, as your lawfully wedded husband from this day forth to having a home and richer for poorer? Baby, please, please.
I do! You heard it? She said, and I do!
But to whom?
Well, I'm sorry, Byron. No.
And honestly, there is no explaining why this moment is so great. But all that I have to say about this moment is sorry to the senator. Sorry to that man. Truly, truly sorry. A Different World truly reflected the times of the early 90s, and this whole show feels like a time capsule, just like in the episode Time Keeps Slipping Away, where the students recorded a video for the future generation 20 years from then. And with this show, 33 years later, it is still as influential as it was then. Now, the topics that they discussed are still relevant today. This show is truly timeless and epitomizes Black excellence. I love this show so much. It means so much to me, and it is one of the reasons why I attended college, and one of the reasons also why I want to be a writer, to tell these types of stories. And I just want to say thank you to everyone involved in this show for making it happen. Debbie Allen, Susan Fels Hill, all of the writers and all of the actors, thank you for using your talents to uplift and inspire. You are all true gems and an important part of the culture, making history through your storytelling. Thank you.
You can go to school any place, but no school would love you and teach you to love yourself and know yourself like Hillman.